Ave Maria, everyone. Today is April 30th, and we are reading from the Roman Martyrology. St. Pius V, Pope, who, elevated from the order of preachers to the chair of Peter, renewed divine worship, Christian doctrine, and ecclesial discipline with great piety and apostolic vigor, according to the decrees of the Council of Trent, and promoted the propagation of the faith. On May 1st, he fell asleep in the Lord at Rome. At Fermo in the Marches, Saint Sophia, Virgin and Martyr. At Rome in the cemetery of Praetextatus on the Via Appia, Saint Quirino, Martyr, who, as a tribune, crowned his testimony of faith with martyrdom. At Saintes, in the region of Aquitaine, France, Saint Eutrope, first bishop of this city, who is said to have been sent to France by the Roman pontiff. At Aphrodisias in Caria, that is present-day Turkey, Saints Diodorus and Rhodopianus, martyrs, who, during the persecution of Emperor Diocletian, were stoned by their fellow citizens. At Paramythia in Epirus, in present-day Greece, Saint Donato, bishop, who, in the time of Emperor Theodosius, shone with outstanding sanctity. At Novara, Saint Lorenzo, priest and martyr, who had built a sacred font in which he baptized the little ones whose education he had taken care of. One day, after having brought a large crowd of children to God through baptism, he found martyrdom at the hands of some wicked people, together with the children he had just baptized. At Forlì, Saint Mercuriale, bishop, who is believed to have established the episcopal seat in this city. At Naples, Saint Pomponio, bishop, who built a church within the city dedicated to the name of Mary, Mother of God, and during the occupation of the Goths defended the people entrusted to him from the Arian heresy. At Rome, Blessed Pietro Levita, who, as a monk on the Celian Hill, by mandate of Pope St. Gregory the Great, wisely administered the patrimony of the Church of Rome, and, having been ordained a deacon, served the pontiff faithfully. At Viviers along the Rhone, in the territory of Neustria, France, Saint Aulus, bishop, who is believed to have opened the first hospital in this city and freed many slaves. At Barking in England, Transitus of St. Erkenwald, bishop, who founded two monasteries, one male, governed by himself, the other female, led by his sister, St. Ethelber. At Cordoba in Andalusia, Spain, the holy martyrs Amador, priest, Pedro, monk, and Louis, who, during the persecution of the Moors, were cruelly killed for not ceasing to openly preach the gospel of Christ. At Verona, Saint Gualfardo, who, as a saddler originally from Germany, after many years spent in solitude, was welcomed into this city by the monks of San Salvatore. At Vernon-sur-Seine in France, Saint Adjutor, who, taken prisoner in war, was tortured for his faith, and, returning to his homeland, retired to a cell leading a life of penance. At Newcastle-on-Tyne in England, Blessed William Southern, priest and martyr, who, having completed his studies in Lithuania, Spain, and Douay, after being ordained a priest, went to England, and for this was condemned under King James I to the atrocious torture of hanging. At Fossombrone in the Marches, Blessed Benedetto da Urbino Passione, priest of the Order of Friars Minor Capuchin, who was a companion of St. Lawrence of Brindisi in preaching among the Hussites and Lutherans. In Quebec, in Canada, Saint Marie de l'Incarnation Gaillart, who, as mother of a family, after the death of her husband, entrusted her little son to the care of her sister, and having made her religious profession among the Ursulines, opened their house in Canada, accomplishing many notable works. At Chieri, near Turin, Saint Giuseppe Benedetto Cottolengo, priest, who, trusting only in the help of divine providence, opened a house in which he worked to welcome the poor, the sick, and the marginalized of all kinds. At the village of An Bai in Tonkin, now Vietnam, Saint Guz Tuan, priest of the Order of Preachers and martyr, who, arrested on denunciation for having administered the sacraments to his sick mother, was sentenced to beheading under Emperor Tu-Duc. At Paderborn in Germany, Blessed Paulina von Mallinckrodt, virgin, who founded the Sisters of Christian Charity, dedicating herself to the education of poor and blind children and to assistance to the sick and needy. Precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his faithful. Ave Maria.